Everybody should be able to see it by now. America's been getting scammed for years. And then a self-made billionaire who will put an end to those scams decides to run for president. That's when the scammers tell us that he's working with Russia. And when that failed, they said he was a dictator who would never leave office. And then when he left office, they said he was a racist. And when that failed, they tried to claim he was a sexist. And when that failed, they said he was a fascist. And then when that failed, the same people that have been scamming us for years turned around and tried to use the legal system to prevent him from taking office again. They tried to take him off of the ballots in multiple states. And then they fabricated a bunch of charges to try to put him in prison for the rest of his life. And then, as all of their cases failed one by one, with the exception of mislabeling financial records, somebody tried to take his life multiple times. And then after all of that failed and he actually became president again, now they're trying to claim that he's part of the Epstein list while he's exposing the scammers left and right. And now the scammers are the ones pretending to be the victim. You got Gavin Newsom's employee busted for $5 million in unemployment fraud. You got Eric Swalwell, Adam Schiff, and Letitia James all being investigated for mortgage fraud. You got the Somalian population under Tim Walz stealing over $1 billion.
Yeah, so this monologue or this footage is something that we've been saying again and again and again, and this is a perfect video to kind of summarize what we've been saying all year long. And we're just going to be running through this. We have a couple of stories to go through. We're going to talk about the Georgia election fraud situation. The mainstream media isn't saying a thing about it. We're going to be covering it. We're going to be talking again about the Epstein files, as CNN essentially has people trying to paint this whole story about it being about Trump preventing the files from being released. We will be covering that. We're also going to be looking at the crazy immigration situation that has been developing with 60 Minutes trying to whitewash South American gangs and make them look good, to the crime waves that we're seeing developing in the state of Virginia since the Democrat governor was recently elected again, and it basically sent a signal that look, crime is welcome in the state of Virginia. And then we're also going to be looking at the state of California, and there's a special video at the very end that covers a connecting line between the Obama crime syndicate, essentially, and what was almost the Kamala Harris-Walz crime syndicate, which was thwarted by the 2024 presidential election. So let's keep going with this video. Let me know your thoughts in the chat, okay? The chat essentially is where you communicate your thoughts. And you know what? If you say something in the chat that essentially, gives the show a redirect, look, I will respect that and then move the show in that direction if what you say in the chat is strong enough to make that happen. So again, your voices are valued, and if you send your comments and your statements in the chat, it'll be amazing. Patricia isn't on today. She's driving to meet up with family for Christmas, and so she won't be here. So, but she's listening while she's driving over to family. So. And she won't be in the chat, so that's sad. But let me know your thoughts, and then let her know that you miss her if you want in the chat, and I will read that out to her. All right, so let's keep going.
Worth of fraud and then sending it back to terrorists overseas. You got other people in Minnesota getting charged for election fraud. And now that Trump and the Republicans have shut down USAID, you have companies like PBS News Network out begging the population for money because their funding was cut off.
Exactly.
So let's face the facts. If Trump was really a bad guy, they wouldn't have to go out of their way to make up lies and use those lies to convince you that he's a bad guy. All they would have to do is tell the truth, the same way we do about the Democrats. If Trump was so horrible, they wouldn't have to use false accusations to demonize him. They just let him do what he's going to do, and then they would have grounds for impeachment.
I've said it again and again that every time the Democrats try to make Trump look bad, it turns out that they are essentially generating these stories. Let's just call it what it is. They're lying and they're bending over backwards to smear Trump. It's easy for us to spot from a mile away. And when we call it out, it is not us. People come in the chat or in the comment section to say, why don't you guys wake up? And it's like, we're just looking at the facts. These are things that the Democrats have said, and they are categorically untrue. They are counting on our stupidity to go along with it, or at least counting on us to be as partisan as most people who watch their shows.
Instead, they used false accusations to convince people that he's a horrible person.
Yep.
And if the accusations weren't false, then they would have won by now on more than just the mislabeled payments. I mean, seriously, think about it and just apply a little bit of common sense. They attempted to take this man down dozens of times, and every one of those times failed except 34 mislabeled payments. And even that shit was shady. They took a misdemeanor charge, upgraded it to a felony for the first time ever, and then put him on a gag order while they fucking dragged him through the court system.
Yeah.
And then, since there were 34 payments, they give him 34 felonies. That way they could jump on the news and use that headline.
And when they came in with that verdict that he was that he was guilty, I called it. I said, look, if Trump wins the election, okay, they're going to use this to continue to say about him that he is a convicted felon, that the Republicans or the MAGA cult elected a convicted felon. And you know what? They're doing exactly what I predicted. And of course, not just me. Okay. Many of us out there called it as well. So it's essentially dumbfounding to see them try to make it seem like this was an intelligent play, that this was a genuine attempt at law and order and to get justice for the American people. But that's all stupid. We can see through their lies.
Knowing that low-level, low-IQ people won't go do the research for themselves.
Yep.
But then when you apply the smallest bit of common sense, you realize, wait a minute, a billionaire probably isn't even out there labeling his payments. It's probably an accountant that he hired.
Exactly.
So out of all of the things that they've ever accused him of, the only thing they found him guilty of is an action that was committed by somebody else that he hired. Meanwhile, the Democrats attempt to convince you that they're the good guys while they actively fight against law enforcement to protect illegal immigrants. The Democrats use the legal system to attack Trump when he attempts to send in soldiers to bring down the crime rates in those Democrat areas. Yep. The Democrats go out of their way to protect criminals and then investigate the President of the United States. Ask yourself, why would they do that? And then just simply take a look around at all this fraud that's being exposed, and you'll have your answer. They were attempting to prevent him from coming in and exposing what the fuck they've been doing. Yep. If you disagree, then be my guest. Go ahead and prove me wrong.
So the bottom line of this is this, okay? You've been watching how everything has been going for the last 4 years, 5 years now. Okay, since we're now at the end of Trump's first year in his second term. And we've seen how things have played out, how Democrats have essentially used lies. Okay, they lied all through the Biden presidency. They did. Okay, they lied about Biden's health. They lied about the laptop from hell. They lied about Trump. They tried to put him in prison for the rest of his life. They indicted 19 of his supporters alongside with him. They hunted down every single person who was a conservative during the January 6th situation. They hid evidence for 4 years about what really happened at the Capitol on January 6th. Look, there's so much evidence out there that, you know what, I would be surprised, I would be shocked if the Democrats won another election. All right. So let me know what you think of this video that I just played. It is, I saw it this morning and I felt, look, this has put in a nutshell everything that we've been saying about all of the issues that we've been covering about the the Democrat Party's attempts to smear Trump and to essentially paint him as something that he is not. Now, we know that President Trump is not an angel, all right? He is not Jesus. So we're not saying that he doesn't have things that he's done in his life or in his career that could be questionable or that we would not agree with. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that when someone brings something that is factually untrue and tries to make it true, then that's where you call them out and hold their feet to the fire. And that's what we do on this show. Now, the next story that we're going to be diving into, which essentially is the first story, is covering the Georgia presidential election results for 2020. It is fascinating how the mainstream media pretends that this never happened. Now, do you remember that mugshot that they took in Fulton County, where President Trump was dragged to a station in Fulton County, made to take a mugshot? The mainstream media, especially TDSBC, were essentially beside themselves, excited about the fact that President Trump was taking a mugshot, that this would ruin his chances of winning the presidential election. But do you know what? What they didn't realize, and you know what, that's why we call these people soulless. They don't understand the human soul. When someone sees injustice happening right before their eyes, it activates them, it radicalizes them. They say, look, this person that they've done this to, who has all of these privileges and basically he didn't do any of the things that they're accusing him of. What if that was me without all of the privileges and all of the access to power that he has? Look, they would destroy me and destroy everyone connected to me. I better vote this guy into office to keep these monsters out of the presidency. That is exactly what they did. They sent a signal to the American people saying, if you lift up your head or raise your voice against us, we will destroy you just like we're destroying this president. Okay? A sitting president was censored off Facebook, off X, or Twitter at the time. They essentially said, look, you are nothing. You are nothing. If we can do this to an American president, then we can do it to anyone we like in the world. They were thumbing their nose at the American people, at everyone, everywhere. It sent a signal. And that mugshot was the last straw. And you know what? That essentially is the mugshot that won him the presidency. Well, people think that and there's also the fact that there was this attempted assassination that took place in Butler, Pennsylvania. So all of that combined, okay, showed the world that the Democrat Party essentially was not fit to lead the American people. Now let's watch this report coming from Georgia. Okay, the 2020 elections that we were told were free and fair, and that questioning the elections was a problem. Essentially, it's coming out that we were right, that something went wrong, and I hope that we get more reports from other states, especially the swing states, to find out what exactly happened that night when I went to bed and Trump was ahead, and I got up in the morning in Nigeria, went down to put on my generator, and next thing, Biden is giving an acceptance speech. I knew something was fishy. I called it out. I said there's something wrong here. And you know what? They said that you're a conspiracy theorist, and if you said anything about that, they would cancel your social media account. I think that's why my LinkedIn account was terminated. They never told me why. Well, let's listen to this story before I go down that rabbit hole.
This story broke a few days ago, and yet most Americans still haven't heard a word about it. In a stunning admission, Fulton County, Georgia, has confirmed that 315,000 early votes were certified without the legally required poll worker signatures, meaning they were certified illegally, which means the ballots were never verified to be real as required by law. The mandatory safeguards were skipped, and the uncertified votes were approved anyway. Americans were shamed for asking questions, and now officials are forced to admit they were right to ask questions. And here's what makes this even more damning. A Fulton County judge has now kept subpoenas alive, seeking access to those 2020 ballots, confirming this issue is serious enough for the courts to intervene. Yet the mainstream media still refuses to cover this tremendous admission because acknowledging it would mean admitting they helped silence legitimate questions about fair and free elections.
This comes back to everything that we've been saying for the last few years. For the last few years, we've been calling out the problematic coverage of the elections, the 2020 elections, the super flu, censorship in social media. And you know what? The media has been complicit. Biden falling up the stairs and them saying he's sharp as a tack. The mainstream media has been complicit in all of this. So, I mean, what are we talking about really? What are we talking about really? Okay. And now they aren't even reporting this story that it's been uncovered that there were uncertified ballots being counted in favor of Joe Biden. Let me know in the chat, okay? Let me know in the chat what your thoughts are about this. Right? I'm very curious to see what happens eventually. Are we going to see indictments? Look, I'm not holding my breath, but you know what? Nothing will vindicate the rest of us out there who have been calling this for 5 years. 5 years. We've been talking about this for 5 years. Nothing is going to vindicate those of us who have been calling this out other than people essentially getting prosecuted, more evidence coming out that this happened in other states, and actual real evidence being released to the American people. Now, I haven't seen mainstream media cover this story, and I'm interested to know why they haven't been covering it to the extent that they covered the fact that the MAGA cult were essentially engaging in election denial. Remember, they called you an election denier if you said that there was something fishy about that election. Remember that? So we're going to continue putting pressure on them. We're going to continue putting pressure on the mainstream media to essentially, A, cover this story, B, roll back the accusations that they consistently made and still make about those of us who call out the truth and say, look, there's something fishy here. We're going to watch CNN soon trying to whitewash this entire Epstein files thing and make it appear like President Trump is still the problem about how or why the files haven't been released and why Bill Clinton. It's almost like Bill Clinton shows up in pictures, in compromised pictures with Epstein, with Ghislaine Maxwell, and so on. And you know what? It's Trump's fault. These guys are just insane, okay? And that's my take. Look, these guys are insane as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so let's continue this. Okay, I see Canary King in the chat. Greetings back, Canary King. Always, let's know your thoughts in the chat. Okay, let's have your thoughts in the chat. I will always respond. I will always stop to respond to you in the chat. Okay, so let's keep going.
This is not new speculation. This is not a resurfaced claim. This is a new admission on the record, made in court filings and confirmed by county attorneys. State officials have also acknowledged Fulton County violated official election processes in a huge way. And yet there's total silence from national media. And why does this matter now? Because poll workers' signatures are not cosmetic.
Yeah.
They are the legal verification step that confirms voting machines were properly opened, properly closed, and properly reconciled. When those signatures are missing, the verification process itself is broken. Officials insist the issue was procedural, but procedures are the safeguard. Without them, voters are asked to blindly trust explanations given after certification instead of safeguards enforced before certification. Georgia, quote, hand counted the ballots in a controversial audit in 2020, but it is now admitted they counted uncertified ballots. They never bothered to check if the ballots were lawfully verified before certification, meaning a mandatory statutory condition was skipped.
I want to remind you guys, okay, this was the same state that went as far as prosecuting Trump and 19 of his supporters and took a mugshot of Trump. This is the same state that said that Trump's questioning of the results that came out of Fulton County was so problematic that it was criminal. That's what they did. Okay. Now, let's see. I'm going to read the chat. Tony, great to see you in the chat. Canary King, great to see you in the chat. And Makhaimula, great to see you guys in the chat. Look, guys, thank you so much for hanging out. Okay. Tony says Megyn Kelly and people like her will cover this as well. I'm sure of it. I'm sure that they're covering it. I'm sure that they're covering it, and I'm not the only one who is bringing this up. Of course, I'm picking up this feed from Lindell TV, okay? But the mainstream media that pushed this hoax that Trump was denying a free and fair election, guys, I lived in the third world for over 40 years. I can see election fraud a mile out, and I saw election fraud that night. I saw it that early morning in Nigeria when I woke up and I saw what happened with the count that night. It was so glaring. Okay? Insanity. Insanity. These guys want us to pretend like they didn't know what they were doing. Okay? They want us to pretend that we didn't catch them with their hands in the cookie jar, call them out, and they essentially called us liars and crooks. And they wanted to silence us. If you mention anything about the elections in social media, you got your account canceled. Do you remember that? Okay. Do you remember that? I assume, okay, this is an assumption because they never told me why. I assume that's why my first LinkedIn account was terminated. It just went away, and I kept asking, what's going on with my LinkedIn account? They never gave me an answer. Tony says hi to Canary King, and Canary King says hi back. Look, guys, enjoy yourselves in the chat. Get to know each other, connect. That's what this is all about. Makhaimula says, I remember all of it. The mainstream media is essentially a glorified streamer that rich people who hate Trump are using to try and make other people hate Trump. I totally agree with that. All right. I totally agree with that. All right. Let's see. Tony says, the more noise from Megyn Kelly and others on this story should lift all boats. I hope so. I hope so. Now, usually, I could get clips from Megyn Kelly. My challenge with that is that we rarely get short enough clips to use on the live stream. So it's usually very hard to use her clips and get the meat of the story. But hopefully in the future, we can do that. Now, let's keep going with this report from Lindell TV.
In short, counting ballots later does not make an improperly verified certification legal. And remember, in 2020, Georgia was decided by a mere 11,779 votes, and the consequences went far beyond the presidency. Georgia's election results flipped 2 U.S. Senate seats, costing Republicans Senate control and helping deliver a full federal Democratic trifecta in Washington, fundamentally altering the balance of power for years. This is not only about relitigating the past, it's about confronting a present-day reality. If election violations can be admitted years later with no investigation, no consequences, and no reform hearings, what message does that send heading into the next election cycle? And this is why the media is ignoring these new facts. For years, mainstream outlets didn't investigate, they coordinated, marching in lockstep with government narratives and shutting down the public. They did. Questioning election integrity wasn't debated, it was punished. People lost everything. January 6 defendants were sentenced to decades in prison. Millions of citizens were censored, terrorized, and disenfranchised.
And let me point out how damaging the mainstream media's coverage of this entire thing has been. Whenever there are trials in the United States, okay, usually there's a jury of your peers that's meant to decide whether you're guilty or not. The mainstream media has poisoned the jury pool of the United States. Let me know if you understand what I mean by that. Their partisan coverage of Republicans and especially President Trump, the partisan coverage of ideologies that essentially were never accepted until the last 15 years, and so on, has essentially primed the jury pool generally in the United States to essentially favor left-leaning policies and left-leaning rulings. Okay, let's not even start talking about the whispers about Soros-funded DAs and soft on crime DAs in blue cities that essentially let criminals go who are repeat offenders, and eventually we've seen several of them actually kill people on camera. And you find out that they'd been arrested multiple times and they were not incarcerated because of their crimes. So all of this is playing out. The mainstream media has been complicit in creating the chaos that we see. Yesterday, while we were streaming, I kept saying that the media is destructive to society. And I know that what I'm doing here can be classified as media, but I mean the mainstream media has been very destructive of society. Today, you can't even have a decent conversation with people without them flaring up and trying to attack you and silence you because they don't agree with what you're saying. Okay, so why has that happened? It is because the media as a whole has cultivated a low IQ listenership. So whenever you're trying to create platforms like this or content like this that is far-reaching and that drills deep into the ideas that are being discussed, people just tune out. Why? Because the media has cultivated a low IQ voter base that essentially doesn't do anything without deep thought. That essentially votes without looking at policy and without looking at the deep issues. All they do is hate Trump. Okay, let's go vote the other guy. That's all they do, and that's all the media has been about. We're going to see more of that in the next coverage on the Epstein files. But now there's another video behind this one where the Georgia Board of Electors essentially explain how the fraud took place in Georgia. And it would upset you. It infuriated me while I was watching it this morning. And you know what? It will explain exactly how the fraud took place, because some of us thought that the fraud was essentially truckloads of ballots showing up in the middle of the night. Okay, it turns out that there were people who were double counting ballots in favor of Biden.
Journalists lost their livelihoods. Trump allies like Mike Lindell and Rudy Giuliani were financially destroyed. They even came for President Trump, all for the revolutionary act of questioning an election process that is now openly admitted to having violated the law. And it leaves one unavoidable question the mainstream media still won't ask. What really happened in the election of 2020? This was never about President Trump. It was and still is about the disenfranchised American voter. When legally mandated verification steps are skipped, the injury is constitutional. The voter's right to equal protection and a lawful vote is violated. The injured party is the citizen of the United States, from Georgia to New York to Texas. And the injured party has standing and is owed a remedy. That remedy begins with a full, transparent investigation into the 2020 election failures, followed by full accountability and lawful redress for lives damaged simply for questioning them.
Well, I think yes to everything she's concluded this coverage with, but there's still a lot further to go. With this entire nonsense. Now, let's look at the Georgia Board of Elections making their announcement. Okay, I don't know if this has ever seen the light of day when it comes to mainstream media, but I caught it this morning and I felt, look, I better share it with you guys. And what they had to say, it's quite a long video because they're trying to explain and break down what exactly took place that night that the elections, and I'll say it here, okay, were stolen from the American people.
Owes President Donald J. Trump an apology. President Trump has been indicted by Fulton County. May I remind you that Fulton County has been found to be in violation of election law not once for the hand audit, but twice for the machine count. And now we can prove that they had intentional human intervention, which is the predicate for election fraud.
Yep.
You all know our case is SEB 2023, thank you, -25. In that case, you know that it involved 17,852 votes counted without ballot images. You also know that for the first machine count, 20,713 ballots were counted with what I like to call receipts. I guess the fancy word is tabulator tapes. And I always like to say you can't get out of Walmart these days without showing your receipt, but for some reason you can count 20,000 votes without a receipt. The last part of this complaint perhaps is the most concerning because we've uncovered some recent information that makes it so.
Yeah.
In addition to proving that 3,930 ballots were scanned and counted. I want to say that again, and counted. And I sure hope that Miss Charlene McGowan is listening. Miss McGowan, on May 7th, you and your team got up before the board and said, yeah, I think Mr. Rossi's right. These ballots were scanned twice, but we're not sure if they were counted twice. That is a lie. And we know that because the data that shows they're counted twice is on the cast vote records, and that is available to the Secretary of State. Other experts know that those ballots were counted twice. Media sources know, I saw Mr. Nisi from the AJC just walk up here, and not to get him in trouble, but he recently reported he thinks they were counted twice also. And that's from the AJC. Sorry, Mark, if I'm going too far, just say, stop, Joe, you're going to get me in trouble.
Now, look, anyone who says the mainstream media didn't know what was going on, okay, I've got a bridge to sell you. They knew what was going on. We have very intelligent people in mainstream media, and they know exactly what happened because they were told what to say. They were told what to say. I want to cover this comment in the chat by Mark Heimler. It's scary, man. I got family that hates Trump, and I do too. Most of us have family who hates Trump. And it's like when you ask them, can you tell me a reason why they start parroting the programming that mainstream media has fed them? And they just parrot, exactly, they just parrot what the media who hates Trump has been saying. And I'm sad about this. Well, I'm sad too, but you know, there's only so much you can do with family and people you love. You can only hope that one day, you know, they open their eyes and they see exactly what's going on. So let's keep going.
Okay.
Oh, and please keep the chats coming. I'm going to read your messages, okay? And if you're watching for the first time or you're joining us for the first time, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing this video. Hit the bell icon so that you're notified. Please help us share the video to people who are just like you, who think the same way, who believe the same way. Let's start there. Okay, people want to share it to everybody, but you know what? Let's start with people who would be open to having decent conversations and who are agreeable to some of the things that we're uncovering during our live streams. And if you feel like it and if you can, consider supporting us with a super chat, super thank, or joining the membership. All right, so let's keep listening.
So they were counted twice for the second machine count. We know with certainty that this duplication of ballots was not, I want to repeat, was not an administrative error. And I'm going to demonstrate to you how we know that shortly. Rather, the duplication process was due to intentional human intervention. And I'm not a lawyer, but when I ran this by a few lawyers, they told me this is the phrase: intentional human intervention is the predicate for election, I'm going to use the F word, fraud. Okay, you're going to hear me say that several times. Part of this presentation. I said that the ballots were tabulated twice, counted twice, and it was not done accidentally. This slide shows that a ballot on the right over here was scanned and counted, creates a file. Some of the experts in the room, like Garland, know this, but if it's scanned again, it creates another file, which means it is counted twice. So how did this happen? This is a very complicated slide that has taken months for technical experts to develop and explain. It's also very difficult to explain still. But it basically shows that ballots were scanned on one day, and then they were randomly picked, these batches of ballots, and created new batches and scanned a second day on a different tabulator. So you probably can't understand this slide. So I'm going to show you how it was done very crudely, okay? All right. So on that first chair, you have a stack of ballots. You see them over there? Again, my props are not professional. I'm just doing what I can to get the message out. On the second chair, you have a second stack of ballots that were scanned, let's say December 2nd, Wednesday, when the midnight deadline was for doing the election recount. On the third chair, you have a third stack of ballots that were scanned on Wednesday. Now, someone or some group, I don't know who, but this is not accidental what they did. They went to one stack of ballots, randomly grabbed a few stacks from that,
All right. So essentially, and I guess you've been following this whole explanation, okay? And, you know, like I said, mainstream media has essentially cultivated a low IQ, low attention span audience. And I hope that we can break out of that programming and learn to pay attention, okay? They don't air explanations like this. They have fast talkers in suits behind desks, parroting what producers tell them in their ears. This guy is explaining exactly how the fraud took place. In Georgia, they had multiple counts. They would count the ballots and then scramble or randomly pick out ballots from different batches and then recount those selections. And of course, it's assumed that those ballots that were selected were actually counting in favor of Democrat candidates. So that's what he's trying to explain here. All right, now don't be quiet about it. Let me know what you think about his explanation. Like, this is the Georgia Board of Elections giving this explanation of what happened during the 2020 presidential election.
No order. I got a random group, okay? Some of them I flipped around so that they count backwards this time. Then they went to another stack of ballots that were already scanned. You notice I'm not necessarily picking them from the top, right?
Yep.
I'm just grabbing randomly. And one more time, I'll do it for example. They went to another stack. And then the next day they came back with that randomly selected stack, and guess what they did? That last chair over there is a tabulator. They ran them through on a second day through a different tabulator. And they did that for 3,930 ballots. Who in the room thinks that's accidental? Raise your hand. I don't think so. I'm going to skip that part. All right, I'm going to close with how I started this little talk here. I'm going to read it one more time if you don't mind. It says, in addition to proving that 3,930 ballots were scanned and counted 2 times for the second machine count, which was the certified count, we now know with certainty that this duplication of ballots was not a mere administrative error. Rather, the duplication process was due to intentional human intervention. And I said, the lawyers tell me that that is the predicate for election fraud. And now, in closing, I remind you about Mr. Raffensperger's ex-post of August 1st. If you have the data, bring it to him. Mr. Secretary, we're bringing the data to you, and we are counting on you to do the right thing and investigate independently. Independently is critical. SEB 2023-25. Thank you.
Now, this presentation is not sexy. It's not sexy. It's facts, it's data, it's examples or explanations, and this doesn't make it on mainstream media. This is 8 minutes of breaking down how the elections may have been stolen in 2020. Now, me saying this could get this video suppressed. So if you're watching, please, just help the channel, help the content by sharing, by hitting the heart button in the chat. Look, just like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when there was a lot of shadow banning and censorship and accounts being terminated, they can't do that today because Trump is in office. But they're figuring out ways of having plausible deniability so that things like this don't get out. All right. So that's why we need you to help us out with sharing the content, inviting more people to join the channel. We have to do a lot of guerrilla marketing now because they claim that Gemini is in charge of managing the content now on YouTube. But we know that it's all programmed by people who don't exactly vote the way we do. Okay. So let's keep that in mind. So let me know your thoughts. Why do you think this story isn't being covered by the mainstream media? Okay. Why do you think that, they essentially have muted this even on social media because you hardly see this story featuring? Now, if this was Trump, and let me know your thoughts. If this was Trump, what would the media have done with this story by now? Okay. If this was Trump that was being accused of election malfeasance, what would the media have done? Now, before we jump to the next story on the Epstein files, let's read the chat. Mark Heimler says, the media showed Trump's crowd sizes on purpose. Oh, the media never showed Trump's crowd sizes on purpose. These people in media really don't want to lose the money they've been getting stirring people up. That is a fact. Okay, now, do you agree with Mark Heimler or you have more to add to what he's saying? Let me know in the chat. Now, we're slipping over to the Epstein file situation. Now, John Borelli is on CNN. And here's what CNN wants us to believe about the Epstein files. Yes, you see Bill Clinton on, but actually, it's Trump's fault. Okay, let's have a listen.
Pull this back 40,000 feet. Isn't it embarrassing to have a party so focused on the Epstein documents, the Epstein case, and time after time? It's like someone getting their NBA debut and just shooting air balls all game. Today's April. I know we're going to pretend like this didn't happen, but if we're wondering why there's so much focus on the DOJ defending Donald Trump, it's because let's talk about what happened today. Today, there was a letter that was so fake, it was so obvious. It was published, it was postmarked after the guy was dead in a state hundreds of miles from where he died 3 days prior.
Yep.
And yet the media went in circles, in a frenzy,
Hang
like
on.
sharks.
I was on this network at 11 a.m. and said, watch out, there's questions
but the fact
about
was
this.
the networks were covering it, not just this, every single one in a frenzy because they're so interested in getting Trump on Jeffrey Epstein. Again, as the New York Times said, as this network says, as every network has to come on and say before we talk about this, there is absolutely no evidence to accuse Donald Trump of crime. Wait, hold on. One more point. There is one president. There is one president who's getting a massage by girls who were.
Why is it that whenever a point is being made by a conservative that is favorable to Trump? Okay, Tony is joining us on the panel. Yo, Tony, good to see you. What time is it now in Australia?
4:45.
4:45. Amazing. All right, so Tony is our guy in Australia. So let's keep listening to this nonsense. Now, here's how it's been playing out for the last 5, 6, 7 years. A conservative shows up on mainstream media and is laying out facts, and then they keep talking over that person. They talk over them. But when it's a liberal or a progressive who is out there saying the propaganda pieces that they've been given to say, they give them all the latitude. They don't interrupt them. They essentially help massage and round out their arguments for them. They complete each other's sentences. It's like whenever you see this insanity happening, it's hard to unsee it.
The DOJ put out that document, and then they said hours after they put out that document, we are looking into this document. So you're making it sound like
because it was on every news channel.
Hold on a second. You're making it sound like
so they shouldn't have released the document.
On immediate appearance, it was crystal clear that this document was fake, and yet the DOJ itself did not know whether the document was.
Are you going to tell me that there's not a media frenzy every time Trump's name is in documents?
Right, but
you're going to try to tell me
when they conducted an investigation, they then came back and said, we believe that it is false. And you know what? All the media outlets that you are now disparaging reported on that very fact. So I don't understand.
How about the Democratic document? We're talking about redactions.
I don't understand the idea that this is some kind of conspiracy to frame Donald Trump when the documents that you are alleging frame him are coming from his own DOJ.
It does not make any sense. They have to release all the documents. It doesn't make any sense.
Let's answer your.
So CNN essentially is parroting some of the Democrat Party's arguments. The DOJ says we have to sift through the documents to make sure that the proper documents are released. Democrat Party jumps up and says, what are you trying to hide? You're trying to hide President Trump's involvement. You're trying to, take out pieces of the files that mention President Trump or that implicate him. Rah, rah, rah. Then the DOJ turns around and says, okay, we're going to make releases in tranches. Here's a bunch of them. And a bunch of them happen to have Bill Clinton in all his glory, in pools, in jacuzzis with naked women, and none of whom are his wife. And the media says, oh no, it's not about Bill Clinton. Nobody cares about Bill Clinton. It's about Trump. Trump is all over the files. Well, show us the pictures of Trump in a swimming pool with naked women none of whom are his wives. Okay? And then now they are claiming that the DOJ releasing a document, a letter that of course had issues. They said, well, the DOJ released that. Why did they release that? Okay, look, Tony, like, can you help me understand this insanity?
I thought I'd come on to just watch and not be dramatic, but it's not helping my anxiety. I feel like I need one of those memes that come up that says, "One moment, please," because I fucking need one. I swear to man. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of these CNN shits and all these media just running their mouths and just lying, continuous lying, man. I thought it was all done. I thought it was all done.
Yeah.
They won't do that again. All these
Yeah.
just, Trump won. We exposed you all. You lied.
Yeah.
And no, man, they just doubled down on this. It's so weird. It's so weird. Do I make sense of it? I can't even make sense of dumb. I can't make sense of dumb.
You talk about mainstream media just coming up and lying, and you know what? There are people who are there to gobble up the lies. I have family who watch TDSBC and CNN, and they believe that these people are telling the truth.
Oh God!
And I can't even have conversations around this with them because there's no getting through to them. And look, my family members are intelligent people. They are. And it's like, what did the media do? Because for years, they built up a sense of integrity, and people tend to believe that whatever they say is true. And then they finally decide to feed the listeners with Trump derangement syndrome. So even when the truth is sitting in front of you, okay, so listen to how CNN reacts when Joe Borelli points out the fact that, okay, so Bill Clinton was in the files and he did do some of the things that he was accused of. And here's what or how they react.
Do we all agree that Bill Clinton probably molested women? I'm not laughing.
No, actually, wait. Actually,
do we all agree?
Hold on a second, Joe.
Molested children?
Hold on a second, Joe. No, we do not know that Bill Clinton.
He's not in a picture with you, Fred.
Joe,
he's not in a picture.
We do not know that Bill Clinton is doing what you are alleging.
Is there more evidence that Bill Clinton acted inappropriately?
We do not know that Donald Trump.
Where was Giuffre traffic out of? Huh? Where was Giuffre traffic out of?
Hold on a second. Seriously.
This clown on the left of Joe Borelli is claiming that Virginia Giuffre was trafficked out of Trump's establishment at Mar-a-Lago. That's like the degree of dishonesty that you have to sink into to be able to come up with that as an argument, okay, it should be clear to everyone that you shouldn't trust these charlatans. Makheimla says one video of the media saying this stuff makes more money than I will make in years. Yeah, it's money, it's advertising, it's the deep state funding an attack on Trump and conservative values. It's just all over the place.
I think both of you, I get it, right? Like there is a lot of politics involved here.
Oh, it's not politics.
At the end of the day, there are people involved. We don't know all of them, who they are. The political world is now focused only on two men for competing political reasons. And the people left in the rubble of that are women who were actually trafficked. This doesn't make any sense.
One of them, the women have said consistently that they were not touched by Donald Trump.
But your entire focus on just these two individuals completely obscures the bigger picture.
I'm not. I just know that there's a photo of that guy.
All I will say, hold on a second. All I will say about Bill Clinton is I take him at his word that they want every document released. They don't think they have anything to hide. I would like to see President Trump and his administration say and act similarly, because I think that would be refreshing for the political system. Let's all sides of this.
So
Shannon, shut up.
Let's get this straight. Trump saying that he would sign a bill to release the files, and actually signing the bill to release the files is not equal to what she wants. She wants Trump to say and do things that show that he's serious about releasing the files.
She reminds me of Shannon Sharp. It's
kind of.
Man, so Skip and Shannon would have this kind of topic, and then they'll pick it apart.
Yeah.
One has to be for an opposing view, right? Whether they like it or not, just got to find angles. And so Shannon Sharp was just boom like that, right? And they just spit it out. They're paid to do it. It's just like they don't believe the crap, but they just say it. Just say it into the world. What the hell are you talking about, woman?
Yeah.
You know you're lying.
They're lying. And the Democrats continue to say this thing, release the files, and then when the thing that's released shows how complicit they are with the whole Epstein situation, they say, "Oh no, it's about Trump not releasing everything. The bits that has been released shows that you guys are complicit."
That's right, man. Like, just like over in basketball, you see LeBron do dumb things, and you'll have someone tell us, like a Shannon Sharp, that he's amazing. No, he's not. You're like, no, he's not. He's dumb. He's rubbish. You know, and like, they just do this, and it's like, shut up. You're affecting a lot of people out here. There's no consequence, dude. Like, there's none for these guys.
Yeah.
That's what's lacking.
Yeah. McCain's. No, well, they won't shut up. They're paid millions of dollars every year to lie to their listeners. You know, so here's McCain's comment. He says, "I remember vividly an interview the media did with Trump, and they asked Trump, 'What would you do if you could be a dictator on day one?'"
Yeah, right.
And then the media took that, and all of a sudden, people think Trump's going to be a dictator when they ask him the question.
Oh, goodness me.
You know, oh, sorry, I didn't put up the second part of the chat. You know, one of the things that, you know, continues to drive me to keep creating content is that these people have shown no self-awareness and a willingness to continue to lie with impunity. Okay, they just continue to lie. Now, so guys, do you think there is ever going to be a time when the mainstream media is going to tell the truth? Is there ever going to be a time when the mainstream media is going to tell the truth?
Never.
All right. Now, if the answer is never, okay, then it means that essentially we have to replace them with platforms that we can trust.
Well, just like Twitter, something like that will happen. So, you know, something like that will have to happen. Just like Twitter, went in, bought it, changed it, and now we have this, right?
Yeah,
something like that have to happen to keep the fairness and truth tellers and the real journalists out there.
Yeah.
Well, at least accountable for their shitty actions.
Yeah.
And so keep the real, the real truth tellers to be on, to do what they used to do before this crap ever happened. Journalists were really hard-hitting people, man, and they were real good at their jobs. We don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
Institutions be changed.
All right. So I want to give other viewers or listeners an opportunity to also join the panel as well to ask your questions or make a contribution. I kind of have this sense that people are asking, well, how is it that this random Australian can join the live stream? And I've been, watching for a while. How do you get to do that? Well, here's the link, is the call-in link. And you can join that. Okay, we can start you off with an audio only, where you just come in and ask your questions or make your contributions. And then if you feel like it, you can also recommend a pivot to a different angle of the story that maybe we never thought of before. So we're open to that. So the call-in feature is open, so you can hit the link and join using that link. Okay, we'll get a request. We're going to let you in, and you're just going to be a voice on the panel where you simply ask questions or make your contributions. But if you're comfortable posting your comments in the chat, that's totally fine. But we want this to be, a cool spot where we all just come and have these conversations. Now, the next story that we're covering is about immigration. Now, there's been some noise going on around 60 Minutes. 60 Minutes decided in all their wisdom that they were going to do a piece on the South American gangs and whitewash them and make them look like teddy bears. And the new head of the establishment, I think Barry Weiss was involved, essentially pulled the plug on that insanity, and they're losing their minds. So here's Stephen Miller essentially talking about it and just going berserk on them for even trying to whitewash criminals who came into the United States, who were responsible for assaulting and murdering girls in the United States. And 60 Minutes are trying to make them look like decent, civilized human beings.
Of course, as you know, people put things into comms, inboxes, and general feedback, comments, but I don't remember getting anything. But more fundamentally, this is another pathetic 60 Minutes hatchet job. They're trying to tell sob stories about trained Nicaragua gang members who drill holes in people's hands, who rape and murder little girls. This is the gang that kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and murdered Jocelyn Ungary. Remember her, that precious 12-year-old girl from Texas who was taken from her mom and went through horrors none of us can even imagine? And you have these 60-minute producers who are living in comfort and security in their West End condos trying to make us feel sympathetic for these monsters? Have you seen the tattoos, the face tattoos, the body tattoos on these killers? Would one 60 Minutes producer or writer agree to spend 30 minutes? I'll make a deal. We will pick someone at random that we sent to CCOT, just a random lottery drawing, and they will spend one day overnight in your apartment. Who is taking that deal at 60 Minutes? Nobody. Because they know that these are monsters who got exactly what they deserved. Because under President Trump, we're not going to let little girls get raped and murdered anymore. And every one of those producers at 60 Minutes engaged in this revolt, fire them. Clean house, fire them. That's what I say, Charlie.
All right, so guys, so what do you think? In the chat, Anthony, what do you think of this insanity?
Yeah, man, 100%, dude. Like, I like that dude. He's so good.
No, he's one of the best things in Trump's Trump's cabinet.
Heck yeah, he stands on this. I'm just trying to think of. Oh, my brain's not working at the moment. But I was just trying to think of. Like, he's right in firing them. Yeah, he's right in firing. Also, like, how do we change? The listeners to stop listening to this rubbish? That's the most important part. You can fire the, own the company, cool. What else? Like, my brain will work soon and I can work it out. But geez, man.
Well, I'll tell you what will happen if they ever got fired. They'll say it's wrongful termination because they were engaging in journalism, and it's a freedom of speech issue. They got it's going to come down to that. Now, with that story, of course, it is all self-explanatory. No sane person would ever want to believe that these producers were doing this because it was the right thing to do. It's all a political hit piece to make ICE and the DHS look like they are deporting nice immigrants whose only crime was to cross into the country illegally, and whoever said that crossing into the country without being allowed in was illegal. It's not a crime. They're going to do that and step over the corpses of all of these women who have been affected by Biden's disastrous border policies. Now, there was a Senate hearing, and there was an exchange between Chris Van Hollen and Marco Rubio. This is epic because this shows the sentiment of the Democrat Party. Every time I see this, and I will continue to say, the Democrat Party has become the party of criminals and illegal aliens. It is not for the American citizens. Oh, and let me add, of perverts. So it's a party of perverts, criminals, violent criminals, and illegal aliens. Because when these people get arrested and deported, you have senators like Chris Van Hollen who never went to visit the victims of the crimes of these illegal aliens. Never went to visit their families to commiserate with them, but would travel all the way to El Salvador to visit his constituent. He calls a criminal illegal alien his constituent.
I have to tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State. I yield back.
May I respond?
You may sit.
Well, first of all, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job based on what I know.
Well, that's just a flippant statement, Mr. Secretary.
Can I respond, Mr. Chairman?
You may. I didn't ask.
Senator, please let the Secretary have
I'd be happy to, but then I can respond to his.
Your time's up, Senator, and willfully used, I might add.
Well,
your remarks do not represent the view of this committee.
Well, Mr.
Secretary, please.
Well, I'd like to. I can't respond to everything he said because much of these are untrue, but I'll go through a few. First of all, I'm actually very proud of the work we've done with USAID. For example, I don't regret cutting $10 million for male circumcisions in Mozambique. I don't know how that makes us stronger and more prosperous as a nation. I don't regret psychosocial support services.
I raised Sudan, Mr. Secretary.
Can I respond, Mr.
Senator? Senator, I'd ask you to suspend. You had 7 straight minutes of
I chose to use my time that way, Mr. Chairman. That's my right to
Please
use
suspend
my time that way.
Secretary Rubio.
Well, I can go on. I mean, there's other things here. We spent $227,000 for Big Cat's YouTube channel from USAID. We spent $14 million for social cohesion in Mali, whatever the hell that means. So I can go on and on. I got the list here, and there's more. I didn't even bring the whole list. In the case of El Salvador, absolutely. Absolutely. We deported gang members, including the one that you had a margarita with. And that guy is a human trafficker, and that guy is a gangbanger, and the evidence is going to be clear. In the days to come, you're going to see who you went to defend.
Senator, I'm sorry, please, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Rubio has the floor.
Mr. Chairman, he can't make unsubstantiated comments like that.
Secretary Rubio has the floor. You
Secretary
had your time.
Rubio should take that testimony to the federal court of the United States because he hasn't done it under oath.
Here's another point, okay? There is a division in our government between the federal branch and the judicial branch. No judge in the judicial branch cannot tell me or the president how to conduct foreign policy. No judge can tell me how I have to outreach to a foreign partner or what I need to say to them. And if I do reach to that foreign partner and talk to them, I have under no obligation to share that with the judiciary branch. Just like a judge cannot order me to negotiate with a foreign minister of Russia, they cannot order me to negotiate with a foreign minister or the president of El Salvador. And if I did negotiate with them, which we have responded to them, and we've told them we've had communications with the president of El Salvador. I am under no obligation, under our division of powers in this country and to share with the judicial branch how I conducted diplomacy of the United States. It would actually be counterproductive. If I started sharing with courts, or frankly, with the media, my conversations with foreign leaders and all of their details, no foreign leader would talk to me again, and we would break trust with them. So I have complied with every court order. What I won't comply with is an order to disclose what I'm saying and what we're talking about with a foreign leader, because then they won't talk to me. Diplomacy doesn't work that way. About the student visas, let me say this. I don't deport anybody, and I don't snatch anybody. The State Department does not have officers in the street snatching everybody. What I do is revoke visas, and it's very simple. A visa is not a right. It is a privilege. People apply for student visas to come into the United States and study.
Yep.
And if you tell me that you're coming to the United States to lead campus crusades, to take over libraries and try to burn down buildings and acts of violence, we're not going to give you a visa.
Is that what Ms. Ostork did?
We're not going to give you a visa.
Is that what she did?
Come
on, Mr. Secretary.
And every single one of these
blowing
cases, the
smoke
factors
here
are
now.
different.
Senator,
the bottom line is, if you're
Senator,
coming here to stir up trouble on our campuses, we will deny you a visa. And if you
Does
have
the
a
First
visa
Amendment
and we find
apply
you,
to
we'll
people
revoke
living
it.
in the United States?
And we're going to do more. There are more coming. We're going to continue to revoke the visas of people who are here as guests and are disrupting our higher education facilities. People are paying money. These kids pay money to go to school, and they have to walk through a
Writing an
bunch of
op-ed
lunatics
to the
who are
tough
here on student
newspapers
visas.
disrupting the
Simple
foreign
as
policy
that.
of the United
I want to
States.
do more. I hope we can
That's
find more of these people.
pathetic, Mr.
In fact, the other day, some guys led a riot. I forgot what university it was, and I asked, please, can you find the arrest records of all the people that were arrested at that riot at that campus? Because if any of them have a visa, we're going to revoke it.
I feel so much safer.
All right,
when you lock up people.
So, Chris Van Hollen, the constituents of Chris Van Hollen who continue to vote him in, okay, you get what you voted for.
So notice how he said about the student visas.
Yeah.
And coming in like that, and burning down libraries and things like that.
Yeah.
How it relates to Australia is that shooter in Bondi came with a student visa.
Really?
Yeah, man, as well. See, the model is still the same, right?
Yeah.
Letting the people, to do bad things and protected by government. That's why I'm here looking at America and mapping, and not just me, man. There's a lot other people who are like-minded. We watch it, America, and how that rolls out, and see what it looks like here, and can't help but see it the same model, man. And we're going through the same crap here. So cause death, bro. That's what it is, man. What's the outcome of that? It's people dying.
Yeah, and what leftists tend to do is they want to point to the most benign expression and saying, well, she only raised a sign that says, no one is illegal or free Palestine. That's all she did. Well, that's not all the protest was about. And to be honest, okay, I don't think, and of course, I wish Patricia were on the live stream today, and she's listening on her drive. I've said repeatedly that the First Amendment rights applies only to American citizens. You have the right as an American citizen, not as a resident. People would fight me on this, but the Constitution isn't a constitution for the whole world. It is the Constitution of the United States of America and its citizens. So if you want to be a citizen of the United States of America, okay, you go through the path to citizenship. Once you become a citizen, okay, and then you go ahead and then begin to protest in that way. But you know what? I'll wait until I'm done with my course on the U.S. Constitution to make any conclusions on that. And then also, I would love to hear Patricia's take on that statement when she's back from her trip. Now, there's a news story that's making the rounds, and that is the fact that, you remember the elections that took place in Virginia, where eventually a Democrat governor-elect, Abigail Spanberger, was returned as the winner. Well, following her victory, there's been reports that there has been a crime surge. And there are data points that point out the fact that this is coming from illegal immigrants. Let's listen to this.
Henrico police tell me they believe this is the work of the South American Theft Group, or SATG. The criminals are targeting wealthy people in the community, many of whom run businesses operating in cash.
Owners of companies, businesses, IT representatives. We've even had a couple public officials whose homes were burglarized.
At least 14 homes burglarized in Henrico since November 5th, mostly around Short Pump and Wyndham in the Three Chop district.
Also, these victims have incredibly valuable items in their house, gold, cash, and jewelry.
In some cases, stealing $5,000 to $75,000 in cash. Detective William Gage with Henrico PD says the crooks appear to be selectively targeting their victims, many of them in the Asian American community.
And we're in consultation with our regional and federal partners to determine how they're selecting these victims. But it's really no secret to the criminal that a lot of business owners, a lot of mom and pops, if you will, operate in cash.
He says there's a pattern to their crimes, breaking into the back doors and windows of homes in groups of 3 to 5 between the hours of 4 to 10 p.m. and always when no one is home.
Almost every victim we've had, the home has been completely ransacked. And these are professional burglars. They do this for a living. They're professional criminals. We had one burglary where they're in and out of the house in 11 minutes.
So this report is saying that there's a crime syndicate, a South American crime syndicate that is involved in this string of crimes. Now, in the chat, Anthony, I'll let you weigh in on this. Do you agree that connecting Democrat policies on illegal immigration and the surge in crimes that are carried out by illegal immigrants or criminal illegal immigrants are connected? Because some people like Chris Van Hollen want us to believe that that connection is fictitious and is irresponsible.
That's probably the easiest question I've ever heard. Like, if you don't have eyes and ears, you'd probably get the answer wrong. But of course it is. Like, who's in president? Who's the president? What happened? Who's the president? What happened? Oh my God, bro! Really, that team did it, right? Like this is really easy to work out. Of course, they let them all in. Of course, they commit crime. And what's great about this part of YouTube and the online space, other people won't know that until you have a look. And it's exposed here. You know, you can stuff. This side of the online world will tell you who these people are and have all that information that mainstream media won't show. Yes, to answer the question is yes, man. And it's just terrible, dude. This reminds me of when America was at war with in Vietnam. The people didn't know what was going on. They were just told by the government what was happening until actual journalists back then, real ones, flew over there and went, "Holy heck, what the hell's going on here?" And that's how it got out. It's like we're in reverse now, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
we're the truth tellers, and the government is still lying. That government is still lying. The Democrats. It's just shocking, man.
Yeah.
I'm just like, wake up, everybody, wake up, turn all that off. Seems like the only way to do that, because how else can you change the world when all they hear is just flat out lies? Like, I don't know. I need to think a lot about that, man. Like, some really hard thinking.
Well, it's and it's becoming in my experience increasingly difficult to simply tell the truth and be let's say promoted for telling the truth. These days the algorithm on social media and even on streaming platforms like YouTube rewards sensationalism, outrage. It rewards propaganda. It rewards lies. It rewards brain dead entertainment. Okay, that doesn't feed anything. Since I started doing YouTube, my wife, and I'll share the analytics with my wife and say, hey, here's how many views I got and so on. And she began to pay attention to YouTube channels, and we would watch these channels that my youngest used to watch, because I had to disable YouTube because it was just slop that was being fed to him. He would turn on the channel, and then the only thing that he would see was just slop, and then you look at the view count, and you would have 50 million views on nonsense.
What?
And then when you look for actual content that is like constructive and that kind of teaches something to the person who is watching it, 10 views.
Are you serious?
So it's like the algorithms essentially pushing content that is making people dumber.
Wow.
I would think so, but it's not always the fact. Well, some of the channels now that are getting reasonable views are channels that essentially reached escape velocity before the real censorship and suppression started on YouTube. So that's what I think. Maybe I'm just a conspiracy theorist because my channel is not doing so hot, and I'm just trying to give a reason, but I can see it happening everywhere. Yeah.
Just like in a free market, well, what's the opportunity, right? So
yep.
if let's say hypothetically, allegedly that was happening, that YouTube was doing that and the children, right? So where's the opportunity? So I think like there's a lot of kind of people here on YouTube, right? And a lot of people with influence, like with a lot of kind of subscribers and all that kind of stuff. If I had the money, I'd kind of replicate that and say, you guys, I'll switch out and give you your money here, but it's freer here. Do you know what I mean? Like that's not. Do you know what I'm trying to say? That's not going to be allowed, or what they're trying to do. I won't do that with that new kind of system, the new laws that are coming in.
Yeah.
That's where the opportunity is for another vendor, but I think that's what it's going to take.
Yeah.
And by pulling them across and paying them the same money that they, their revenue, the independent podcasters, it'll be appealing to them, I would say.
Well, there's an opportunity there, but YouTube is the big gorilla in the room, and and even the closest competitor, Rumble, isn't anywhere near what YouTube is capable of doing for creators today. Now, I multi-stream on Rumble as well, and and also on Twitch and Kick. and on X. I resumed streaming on X as well. And I look at all of this and say to myself, well, for now, I don't see a solution to all of the problems that we're seeing with YouTube. I don't see a solution. But what I do see is a call to action to just keep doing what you're doing. All right, just keep doing what you're doing, because to be honest, big things start small, and if your channel grows too quickly, it's either you're doing something very right or you're doing something very wrong. Okay, so it's just something that I would like to just think about and be sure that because if this channel suddenly started growing and we checked the content and you and Canary King and everyone else looks at the channel and says, I don't recognize this channel anymore. You're not telling the truth anymore. You're just feeding out slop now. Okay, this isn't the channel that I subscribed to. This isn't giving me what I came for. You've fundamentally changed the ethos of the channel. All right. That would be me essentially submitting to the algorithm and doing what it's trying to corral me into doing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, you're not the only one that, as a host, podcaster, that's brought this up. And, Kwame Brown was talking about this a lot, so talking about the changes, and we can see it as an audience. So what are they saying? Like what are you saying? What are they saying? It's like that they've got arbiters at the gates now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they never used to have that before. And they censor what you or us can say now and do, and there's more laws that have come in. And clearly something's happening to our free speech that was before all that shit.
Yeah.
And when it's like anything, when it's snuck into a system, you can't stop that. Sounds like another Twitter thing's happening here in YouTube, and it's really dumb because people are going to react, man.
Yeah.
Just like Twitter, that changed. Just like the cab industry years ago, and then Uber turned up. A solution will be made in the free market. The opportunities will be there, and they'll feed it.
Yeah.
Time will tell, brother.
Yeah. Time will tell. All right. So let's see. So let's cover this final set of stories coming from California. And then there's a special video at the end that I'm going to play. Okay, you might like this. Okay, it's basically like a breakdown on the corruption that connects Obama to Tim Walz and Kamala Harris. It's quite interesting. I listened to it and I was like, maybe I think the audience might like this. So I'm going to play this. This is corruption, essentially in the state of California. And it is just crazy how you don't hear much of this on the mainstream media.
Congressman Kevin Kiley, he is sounding the alarm in his home state, saying under Governor Gavin Newsom's leadership, it has become the, quote, fraud capital of America.
And we have team coverage. Our national correspondent, Alana Austin, is on Capitol Hill with more on the investigations into Tim Walz. But we start with correspondent Heather Myers, who has more on what is going on in California. A rainy day out there on the West Coast. Heather, what can you tell us?
Well, good afternoon to you, Katrina and Andrew. This latest report was issued by the state auditor, and that's a nonpartisan position. That state auditor now puts 8 state agencies on the high-risk list of agencies to watch out for things like fraud and mismanagement, as well as waste. Here's a look at that 92-page report. Newly added to the high-risk list is California's food stamp program. If the state doesn't get the improper payments under control, it could cost an extra $2.5 billion. Also on there is the Department of Finance, which was tasked with giving out COVID relief funds. Critics say $32 billion of that was taken by fraudsters. Then there are infrastructure issues like California's deteriorating dams and also the high-speed train that's already cost taxpayers $18 billion without a single section of track complete. Other reports cite $24 billion spent on the homeless issue that critics claim the state lost track of.
So the state spends $18 billion on a rail track, and not a single line of track has been laid.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then,
I saw that.
and then they spent what? Did they say $24 billion on homelessness? And homelessness isn't going away, but it's growing.
Track of. More recently, there's a report that says California cell phone users paid a surcharge for years to upgrade the state's 911 system. Here's Congressman Kevin Kiley talking about what happened to that plan.
That after spending $650 million on that system, the state is totally scrapping it and starting over, completely wasted the money because the technology doesn't work. Mind you, we are very close to Silicon Valley in Sacramento, and yet the government can't figure out how to make basic technology perform.
It's all corruption. It's all corruption. They come up with these harebrained schemes, and then the money just goes away. And then Gavin Newsom stands in front of the camera with his greased back hair, smiling and waving around his hands to tell the people, well, it's not working. So where's the money? Where did all the money go? It's.
I think of
Yeah. Go on.
I instantly think of the Bernie Madoff interview when he, the deposition, and there's a piece when he talks about the Ponzi scheme. Yeah, he was running a Ponzi scheme. Bernie Madoff, get your ass in jail. Cool, right? But he says something really interesting, old Bernie. He's like, what are you talking about? The government is a complete Ponzi scheme. It's the biggest one ever.
Mm-hmm.
You guys wrote the book. And that's what that's this stuff here in California and everything that's going on with this Democrat party. It's a complete Ponzi scheme.
Mm.
And who would know most? Well, Bernie would know most how to run one. That's why he's in jail.
Yeah.
It sickens me, man. It really sickens me when people are living in their cars and they lost their jobs and they're doing it really hard.
Yeah.
And you just see millions and millions of dollars getting wasted.
Yeah.
And easily and freely and being lied to every damn day. And people just accept it. It's not good enough.
Well, early this year, we all watched as President Trump and Elon were attacked viciously for shutting down USAID. You know, everybody says that what he did was evil. Okay, saying everybody is an exaggeration because not everybody. The loud minority came out screaming that he was killing people by cutting off these funds. You know, and essentially it was all corruption. He was shutting down the corruption. It's crazy. Mark Heimler says, everyone speaking to me from the media is a rich person wearing clothes that probably cost more than my car. Telling me I should hate rich people. I love rich people, man. I want to protect them. Yeah. The media doesn't deserve the money they make. They don't. And that's probably why you should support the media companies. Do I qualify as a media company? I don't. I'm just a guy doing live streams and videos in my spare bedroom. So, but support creators that you trust and that you want to support, just support them with your money, support them with your eyeballs, support them with your time, support them with suggestions, support them with encouragement. Because do you know what? Look, guys, I am not a complainer. I am not a complainer. And I'm not a victim. I'm not. I would figure out a way to fix something if I felt that something was wrong with what I was doing. And the same goes with here on YouTube. If on YouTube I figure out, okay, there's something that I'm doing that the algorithm is pushing against, as long as it doesn't involve me compromising my position on the truth, okay, I will make those adjustments. I stay up, like I'm up till 4 a.m. most nights, because I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing right or wrong with YouTube. So it's not me saying I'm a victim and YouTube is trying to destroy me. No, but whenever you find someone who you enjoy their content, support them with your time, support them with suggestions, support them with your donations, with money. Give a super chat, super thank, join the membership. Show them that you want them to keep doing what they're doing on a larger stage, because to be honest, it takes money to do most of this, like, paying my light bills, my internet bills. If I need to get a soundboard or something that's meant to help make the live stream go better, I had to buy a new set of earphones, because the old ones were just distracting me during the live streams. I got a new pair of earbuds. Everything costs money. All right. And to be honest, I want to do this long term. This isn't a hobby for me. This is something that I want to do long term. I'm seeing this as what I want to retire into and keep doing, till the day I'm like, it's time to go. So why? Because I found that truth has become very scarce in the world. Common sense isn't as common as it should be. Yeah. So when we say, okay, let's talk about the common sense reason why this is happening, it turns out that it's not so common. When you have Chris Van Hollen attacking Marco Rubio for common sense policies, people shouldn't come into your country and tell you how horrible your country is when they are guests. They are guests.
Yeah.
They're not citizens. They are guests.
It's that easy.
So it makes no sense. Makhaimla says, I do not count. Did I read the other one? Yeah. He says, I do not count you as the problem media at all. It's the big corporate media that is controlling the other content they don't like. Yeah, no, I didn't say that you were, but I was starting out to say, if you have a media company you trust, and I almost refer to myself as a media company, and that's why I backtrack to say I'm not one. I'm not big enough. But if you have a creator that you support, like what you're doing right now, Makhaimla, posting in the chat is supporting me. Okay, watching the entire live stream is supporting me. Telling me or taking the polls and telling me what you want is supporting me. Like last night, I did a poll and said, do you want me to go live on the 24th? Because I was thinking of just taking the whole day off and tomorrow off. But Makhaimla says, yes, I want you to go live at 12 noon. And I said, okay, I have one person who says I should go live, and I will go live for one person. Okay, that's how dedicated I am to my audience. Now, with all of that said, I'm grateful to all of you who take the time to watch the content and to support with chatting, support with being members of the channel, support with being with donating a super chat or a super thank. Okay, now let me tell you the difference between a super chat and a super thank. A super chat is a donation that happens during the live stream. So you see a $sign in the chat box, you hit it, and then it lets you, oh, it's Christmas morning. Merry Christmas, Tony. So Tony is already in the 25th. Merry Christmas, Tony. Merry Christmas. So you gotta go. All right. All right. All right. Merry Christmas, Tony. Thank you for jumping in. He lives in Australia. He's a full day ahead of us. Thank you so much for joining. And he has to be bright and early for his family. So, all right. Take care. All right. Yeah. I'll catch you later. Yeah. So, let me help him out. Yeah. So, 1 second. There we go. Okay. All right. So, by supporting the creators or the people who you believe are a net good for the space is amazing. So these are the ways you support. I was describing how to give a super chat. So you hit the currency or the $sign in the chat, and then you basically give a chat, and then you decide how much you want to donate to the live stream. It goes a long way to support the creator. Now, if YouTube is doing its best to keep the channel from getting views, it means that it's keeping the channel from making money. That also essentially means that it is killing the channel, because it only makes sense if the channel is making money through views. So one way to support the channel is by giving a super chat, or if you're watching after the fact and you want to give a super thank, it's what you do in the comments. Okay, the comments, you have the same feature to give a donation. So thank you. Thank you for supporting the channel, Markheimler. Thank you so much. It's the big corporations that are doing things you don't like. And Markheimler sends us a heart emoji. So, yeah, so let's play the final video. All right, so this video comes from a private creator. I watched it this morning and I felt that it'd be good for us to watch it. And you let me know what you think in the chat while this video is playing.
Okay, I hope you're ready for this video. This won't be a short one. I'm going to tie in exactly how I believe Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, Tim Walz, Ilhan Omar, Tony West, Kamala Harris, all of these people are linked together with the fraud that we're seeing unfold right now. And I'm going to explain to you how it is. See, it starts way back when Barack Obama was president. When he was president, he was in charge of appointing somebody to the Department of Justice Civil Division. It's Tony West. And you say, well, who's Tony West? It's Kamala Harris's brother-in-law. So he appoints Kamala Harris's brother-in-law, Tony West, but not only does he do that, but he removes the restriction that Congress has to approve any settlement over $100,000. See, Congress used to have to approve that. Once Barack took away that restraint, DOJ can sue for anything with nobody's approval. They could sue for $1 gazillion, and Congress doesn't have to approve for a settlement. Why is the settlement important? Because in a settlement, you don't have to disclose all the law firms involved. You just settle. Now, people complain when Tony West was settling all of these cases. They were all minority-based cases. People suing the Justice Department, suing the Justice Department for minority-based this, minority-based that. The Justice Department, what they would do because of Tony West is settle. 50 million, 40 million, $1 billion, nobody knew because they wouldn't release it because Barack Obama already signed off saying, you don't got to tell nobody. So Kamala Harris's brother-in-law was taking all of this money, giving it to all of these law firms. Now, you know, Barack, he's an attorney. Michelle Obama, she's an attorney. So all of these attorneys out there were getting all of this money from the DOJ now, being fed and loving it. Tony West, another attorney, he's now the head of Uber. That's a whole nother story. We'll talk about that later. He's the head of Uber legal department. But now all of these attorneys are eating right now. Nobody knows how much money is going on. Kind of like with BLM, when people were donating all this money to BLM, but BLM wasn't giving money to the people who it was intended for. That's what these law firms were doing. They were keeping the funds. So people were suing the Justice Department on behalf of minorities. Minorities weren't getting the money, though. The law firms were getting the money. So after they saw how this scheme was working, now you got Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar, Michelle Obama. What was Michelle Obama big for? We got to feed all these kids. This is about nutrition. We got to make sure every kid has a meal. That was Michelle Obama. Ilhan Omar says, oh, we could do that in Minnesota. I'll start a whole new program. So now she's using all of the legalese from Michelle Obama, go to Minnesota. They create this feeding our future, no kid starves thing. And where did all the money end up? In Kenya, China, Somalia. Who's linked to Kenya? Barack Obama. Kenyan relatives. Who's in China? Tim Walz. He has all these Chinese connections. All the banks in China know who Tim Walz is. He was a big politician. He's got connections over there. So when it came time for the Democrats to choose, after Biden says, I can't do this, they chose Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris linked in with who? The DOJ already, Tony West. He already went to Uber. But guess who's also they're linked in with? Tim Walz in Minnesota through Ilhan Omar. So now you got all of these people who are all linked together, already got previous dealings with each other. The Democrats are like, why don't we run a primary? Barack is like, we're not running a primary. We're going to appoint Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, you're going to choose Tim Walz. Everybody's like, who the hell's Tim Walz? See, Tim Walz has already been deep in it with Ilhan Omar and Michelle Obama's food programs. They've already been deep in scamming already. So they need to choose somebody that can keep it rolling. You can't choose an outside Democrat. You can't choose a Pete Buttigieg or anybody like that, because they're going to be like, what the hell is all this going on?
I mean, look, are you guys following the thread? Are you following the thread? And according to him, he's been talking about this for a while. Now, I want to give a shout out to Makaimla. Thank you for the super chat. All right, for the $10 super chat. Thank you. And he says, and you said, you are the first person I feel like deserves this. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Never did a super chat before. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. I do appreciate it. And this means a whole lot. Believe me, it means a whole lot. To you, it might just be $10, $2, $5, $1.99. But to me, it means a whole lot. Okay. It shows me that you support the content, you love what I'm doing, and you want me to keep doing what I'm doing. It's a huge vote of confidence. And you know what? I'm promising you that I will do my best to make sure that I don't let you down. Okay. You heard me say this earlier. If at any point in time you ever see that the content has changed and I'm no longer telling the truth, or I'm simply pandering to the algorithm, you know I've changed. But do you know what? That isn't going to happen, because I am doing my very best to stay true to my convictions and not play the YouTube algorithm game. And that's why I'm calling it out. That's why I'm talking about it so openly, so that you know that, okay, it's important that you know what's going on, and that you also know what I'm doing to try to ensure that I keep the channel as clean and as honest as it should be. So let's keep listening to this. But again, are you hearing what he's saying with all of the connections? This whole thing about using food programs or programs that are supposed to help the poor and and those in need to scam money out of the American taxpayer is an old grift. And he's essentially drawing the lines and connecting the dots.
Now, when Trump finally won and he came in and he says, we're cleaning this all up, everybody started resigning.
Yep.
The head of Social Security office resigning. All of these people started resigning because they knew the jig was up. All of this money that they were putting up for minorities and putting up for illegals, it was all just being swindled. Nobody was being taken care of. All these cities are going bankrupt right now because the feds weren't funneling this money to it. The states were like, well, we'll fund and you guys reimburse us. And the feds were like, okay, $9 billion is flowing out of this country into over other banks. Now, if any bank here in America was like, we're getting billions and billions of dollars put into our banking system, what the hell's going on? But if you're doing it in China, you're doing it in Kenya, you're doing it in Somalia, you're doing it in Sweden, you're doing it in the Cayman Islands, you're putting this money all over the place. American banks don't know what's up. You can even put it in banks over in Ukraine. Ukraine was kind of getting money on. It's like, hey, we'll help you guys move the money. As long as, we got our man Zelensky in power, we will help you move the money.
Man.
Everything was happening right in front of everybody's faces.
Yeah.
Now they want to claim, oh, it's not as big as what it is. I did a story about this 2 years ago, talking about Tim Walz and Tony West and all of this fraud. 2 years ago, I was talking about it. It's now 2025, and people are finally saying, hey, Tim Walz is involved in fraud. I said it 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I said, this dude is in bed with Tony West. Tony West was running fraud at the DOJ. Everybody was talking about investigating Tony West, and all of a sudden it just disappeared. When Trump won, it disappeared. Like, what happened? Were we investigating this guy or what? He was the one scamming the DOJ. He was using minorities to fund all of these law firms who were in turn giving money to Kamala Harris, an attorney, Michelle Obama, attorney, Barack Obama, attorney, Tony West, attorney. So all of our tax dollars are flowing to all these attorneys. Where's the money at? And once Barack Obama already knew Obamacare was a scam from the get-go, he was like, this is going to be too easy. We've got illegals coming in from Somalia, illegals coming in from all over the world. We can have them apply for and use Medicaid, Medicare, all of these services, creating dummy companies and everything else to make sure we trap the tax dollars in our scheme. We don't let the Americans into the scheme. We do the scheme with the people coming into the country that don't know how our laws work. We're the attorneys here. We just need a bunch of patsies. So all of these people in the Somalian community has no idea they were being played. You guys are being used. You got autistic kids, you got hungry kids, you need housing, you need lodging. All of these people were being used by a group of attorneys who had this grand scheme on how to get tax dollars under everybody's noses using programs and NGOs. I'm telling you, this goes way deeper than what a lot of people think. Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar are not masterminds. This was a mastermind affair. This right here started at the very, very top a long time ago, knowing we could get tax dollars out of these people if we play by the rules. The only way they could play by the rules is if they got people that didn't really know the rules. You need people who think this is on the up and up, but you're using scams to get there. You're using a collection of people who know exactly how to work through the loopholes. You're getting kickbacks. So a lot of politicians were getting kickbacks. A lot of agencies out there are getting kickbacks. You can't tell me these people saw all that money come through and they didn't know the wiser.
Yep.
You can't tell me that.
Yep.
These are intelligent people with degrees, with experiences in law, with experience in politics, experience in government agencies. And you telling me a group of Somali pirates who probably didn't even have high school educations tricked everybody out of $9 billion? I'm not buying it. Now Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar are sitting on the hot seat and the other people in the backdrop like, yeah, don't say our name. Whatever you do, don't say our names. I said y'all names 2 years ago. I think we better start looking into it.
Right. So that's a breakdown by this guy. Now, do you know what? I apologize. I didn't get his name. Okay. Maybe if you want me to figure that out, maybe during the next live stream on Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, you would, just remind me. Okay, so in the chat, Makaimla says the money these states got to help people living here literally got sent to other countries. It enrages me, and I'm not an American citizen. It enrages me that this was going on. Okay, every well-meaning person out there should be enraged. In Nigeria, there was a time when working at an NGO was a huge deal. And you know what? People who worked at NGOs, I mean, some of them have great ideas on how to help people who are struggling. But in my experience, the entire NGO thing became a grift. Okay, I mean, how does it make sense that you get a job at an NGO that doesn't generate any revenue, and the first thing that you do when you get hired by the NGO is you get a brand new SUV? The NGO doesn't make money. It spends money that has been donated. Is the money of donors. Why is it that the next thing that people who work in NGOs get is a brand new SUV? Okay, I asked myself that question years ago. And you know what? Whenever I don't feel comfortable about what the answers I feel in my heart is, I stay far away from that nonsense. So I'm not a big fan of NGOs. I'm not. Okay, because I see it as a huge money laundering scheme by whoever it is that is behind the NGO. So if you don't agree with me, please set me straight in the comment section. Makaimla says, sending money to other countries is not okay. Intergalactic Wrangler says, hello, everyone. Merry Christmas. Busy running around doing Christmas stuff, listening in when I can. Thank you so much, Intergalactic Wrangler, for that. When I'm done with this live stream, I'm going to be running off to buy presents for my kids. We got some. I'm going to be running out to get some more because my wife feels like we need to add a few more things to the kids. I want to thank you guys because you've made this year an amazing year. So when we do the last live stream for the year, that's when I'm going to get all sentimental with you guys. Okay, so thank you guys for watching this live stream. Thank you, Intergalactic Wrangler, for listening in. Thank you, Patricia, for listening in on your long drive. Thank you, Makaimla, for being the chief of the chat today and for donating a $10 super chat. Thank you so much for being so supportive. Thank you all for giving your time, your eyeballs, and your efforts to keeping this channel going. It is currently a labor of love. It's a labor of love for now, but hopefully it will eventually begin to run itself and pay for itself. But I want to thank all of you who have signed up for memberships, like Tony has, and have continued to give super chats, like Makaimla and others that have continued to watch the live stream, giving the channel views and watch time. I'm grateful. Okay, you guys are the reason why this channel is still on the air. Okay, you're the reason why, because I keep this connection with you guys, talking with you, and it just makes this all the more meaningful. Thank you so much, and Merry Christmas to everyone. Merry Christmas to Tony, who is ahead of all of us. He's already in the 25th, and he's preparing for his time out with family. For the rest of you who are listening, thank you so much. Merry Christmas to all of you. Makaimla says, Merry Christmas, guys. Thank you so much, Makaimla. And then Makaimla also says, I'm okay with sending money to other countries if it's honest. I don't like when my government lies about the money. It's true, but then again, I also believe that charity begins at home. If there are people in your country that need the things that you're sending to other countries, that makes no sense. That is stupid. Okay, take care of the people in your country. Make sure your citizens are okay. Make sure everyone is okay. No American left behind. I am not a citizen of the United States, but look, a strong United States that sets the example on how to lead a country and how to take care of your citizens puts pressure on other countries to do the same. If the United States begins to act like the third world, not taking care of its own citizens, okay, you become the third world. This is a third world thing where you honor other people more than you honor your citizens. I felt like a third-class citizen in my own country. I did. Okay, so I know how it feels. I know the aggravation. And I don't want it happening in the United States. I don't. It would spell literally the destruction of modern day civilization. It would. So when I call these things out, no one, the US government doesn't even know I exist. And I think I'm grateful for that. I don't want them to know I exist. I just want those of you who are watching and who are connected to this content to be the ones that matter, okay? We just tell the truth and we move on. It simplifies everything. And Makaimla agrees and says, yeah, And I guess you're agreeing to the fact that I said that charity begins at home. Okay, you have to take care of your people, your citizens, your country first before you begin to send billions to other countries. It is common sense. It is the righteous thing to do. It is the right thing to do. And as God gives me strength, I will continue to say the truth. Okay, I will continue to say the truth. So thank you all. We will not be going live tonight. We will be taking a break for New Year's Eve. And then we will be back on Friday, the 26th at 8 p.m. Eastern. Maybe we can all come together and then talk about what Christmas was like, but we're also going to be talking about ancient civilizations, alien technology. We're going to be talking about the 3-eye atlas phenomenon. There are more reports are coming out. There's a report about more visuals coming from the stations that are observing the is it a comet? Is it a spaceship? No one knows. But we're going to be looking at that information, and I would love for you guys to join us during that live stream. It would mean a whole lot to me. Okay, so Makaimla says, "Oh my, what are you responding to? Is it the live stream, the live stream on Friday, or something else? I need to know what you're reacting to so that I can I can answer that." Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed today's live stream. Okay, let me know what you think, what you thought of today's live stream in the chat. Did you like Tony jumping on to give his perspective as an Aussie? Did you enjoy the videos that we covered, the stories that we covered? What story resonated the most with you? Okay, Makaimla says, "I'm excited. Yeah, I like aliens." Yeah, I found that most of us who come to this channel actually gravitate to those things. We question everything, and I guess, as a child, I was fascinated by the Bermuda Triangle, by unexplained phenomenon happening all over the world. I'm drawn to that kind of thing, and I guess most of us are. So we're finding each other. So I hope you can make it on Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be diving into those stories, and I hope that you're going to also bring your own perspective to those experiences, because I know that Intergalactic Wrangler has put up a suggestion. And look, we're excited about the story that you suggested, and we're really hoping that we can get into that piece of technology. It's amazing. There's so much out there that we can learn from. While the mainstream media is busy lying and looking stupider and dumber about everything that they've ever said, we, on the other hand, are questioning everything and learning much more about them, about the news, about politics, and about the world that we live in and the universe that we live in. So I hope that it'll be something that we can all enjoy together. Makaimla says, "I had a cool thought. We found life already on other bodies in space when we landed on the moon." Yeah, and I'm hearing that was concealed. Patricia said that there was a report about the moon landing, that while the astronauts were moonwalking, that they saw over the horizon vessels that were observing them. So, like, I'm curious. There are people who believe the moon landing never happened. But there's accounts about, yes, it did happen. And while they were on the moon, here's what was going on that was never revealed. Yeah, Makaimla says, "We found life on the moon when we landed there." Makaimla, look, I'm inviting you guys to be part of our research team. If there's links, if there are videos that kind of cover some of these things, okay, it'll be great for you to send them to me, okay? Send an email to the email address on the screen. crossroadsirl@gmail.com, okay? I will look at everything. Patricia and I will take a look at it. Patricia knows so much stuff, and I'm like, okay, we're going to be working through this together. I will love to have your own suggestions sent to that email address. Makaimla says, we found ourselves there. We are life forms. We were there. Okay. Okay, I like that. I like that. We found life. We found ourselves there. Okay, you got me there. You got me there. Okay, so I'll have to take a quick rush out to get gifts for my kids. You guys are my family. Okay, we may not be connected by blood, but we found each other and we happen to be fond of each other. Thank you, Makaimla, for insisting or voting that we go live today. I quite enjoyed it, and I do hope that we can have many more live streams like this with many more people of like mind like us joining and having conversations and actually sharing the truth. Okay, not propaganda, not wishful thinking, but actually sharing the truth and connecting more with each other. Well, thank you so much for being a part of this, Makaimla. Until Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, God bless you, and I'll see you then. Welcome to Headlines and History, live news reactions and your views. We're about to go live soon, so grab your spot and get ready for a sharp, balanced take on today's biggest news stories with a dash of historical insight. Stay tuned. Each week, we tackle the headlines that matter: politics, economics, global events with a balanced lens. We'll react live, tie today's stories to historical moments, and spotlight your views in the chat. From trade talks echoing the 1990s to crises recalling 2008, we're here to unpack it all. Your voice drives the show. Share your thoughts or historical parallels in the live chat, and we'll dive into the best ones. It's news, context, and community all in 1 hour. We're moments away from launching Headlines and History. Stick around for live reactions, historical nuggets, and your chance to chime in. Hit the notification bell, prep your comments, and let's make sense of the news together. See you soon.